Pack your bags, Caniacs. We got 3 more years of trips to Chatmandu.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I am the Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers. I also do some AHL coverage over at the Calder Times. I am the co-host of the Surge Cast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all of my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a very exciting Monday episode for you guys. We'll be going over the Jalen Chatfield contract extension they signed on last Friday with the Carolina Hurricanes. Possible extension might be done for one Jaccob Slavin. And we're also going to talk about a potential mock trade that could look at possibly seeing Jonatan Berggren coming from the Detroit Red Wings to the Carolina Hurricanes. But before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So, like I said at the start of the show, Jalen Chatfield and the Carolina Hurricanes have come to an agreement on a contract extension that was announced on Friday. Thursday night, it was reported that there was a possible deal being done. Frank Saravalli of the Daily Faceoff was reporting that a deal was agreed upon by Jalen Chatfield and the Carolina Hurricanes, and it was confirmed Friday morning by the team itself that we're going to get 3 more years of round-trip airfare to Chatmandu, as Chatfield and the Carolina Hurricanes agreed to a 3-year, $9 million contract, which will see it be a $3 million AAV per season to keep him through the 2026-27 season. And within that, too, the first 2 years of the contract are full, no move trade clauses. And then in the last year, going into 26-27, it turns into a modified no trade list, which will be a 15-team no trade list. So for the most part, first 2 years, full non-move. Last year, a 15-team no trade list, and that will keep him here through the 26-27 season. And honestly, great deal by the Hurricanes to keep Jalen Chatfield for 3 more years. He's really fitting well with the Hurricanes over the last couple seasons. You know, it was interesting how you look at where he was kind of starting in Vancouver, comes to Carolina, plays a little bit, a couple years, a couple seasons back for the 21-22 season. Really got a start in 22-23, played really well, shown that he can actually hang in this past season, even though he did sit for the first couple games. Once he came into the lineup, basically rest is history. He was basically stapled to the third pair with Dmitry Orlov, and those two together were a really good shutdown defensive pair for the Carolina Hurricanes. And he played himself into a very big contract. So he was making under $900,000 last season, and now he's getting a huge pay grade upgrade in the fact that he's now going to be making $3 million per season. And a lot of people are loving this trade because of the fact that if he went to open market on July 1st as an unrestricted free agent, he would have gotten, I would not have been surprised if he got a 4x4 or anything higher because of the way he played. And a lot of people have viewed him as someone who's going to be really, really good. I know AFP Analytics had him projected to make it was $3.6 million and something like that. And the fact that the Hurricanes got him down to 3 for 3 years is absolutely fantastic. And the thing that it's what really helped make this deal happen is the fact that, you gave Jalen Chatfield security of he's not going to get traded at all for at least the next 2 seasons. In the third year, you got a 15-team no trade list. So I think that's what kind of really helped make him want to stay in Carolina, for the fact that if he's not going somewhere else, he doesn't have to worry about moving to another team and move to another city, and then potentially get traded. Now he knows he's locked into living in Raleigh for the next at least 2 seasons, with that third season, being with that no trade list. But honestly, you can't ask for a better deal for that, especially for a guy like Jalen Chatfield, who on any other team could play in the top 4. And it just shows how good the depth is in Carolina, for the fact that you got this guy who played a lot of defensive pair on the third line last year, played phenomenally well, season a huge upgrade going from less than $900,000 to $3 million, and you got him locked in for the next 3 years. And you can see, like, even 2 seasons ago when Jaccob Slavin got hurt, you threw him right into the top, defensive pair on the left side, and he played really well. So you can kind of see him go up and down the, defensive pairs. And he's got the wheels, doesn't commit a lot of penalties. He's great in transition. He does have a good shot too. And it's just one of those things where it's a great deal by Eric Tulsky and company to get him locked in, and now you've got him for the next few seasons. So, like, if anyone's ever thought about getting a Jalen Chatfield number 5 jersey, go ahead and get it. You got him for 2 more seasons at least, and it's a great deal. I think it's a phenomenal deal. It's a great job by Tulsky and all of them to get it done. And even when asking, Eric Tulsky about Jalen Chatfield, Tulsky said, Jalen has been an integral part of our blue line over the last 2 seasons and firmly established himself as an NHL defenseman. His elite speed and tireless work ethic make him an incredibly dynamic player at both ends of the ice. He is. I mean, Eric Tulsky nailed it perfectly. You can just tell, going from the offensive zone to the defensive zone, he can catch pretty much almost anyone. It's just his speed is so elite, and just how good he is, and the fact that he's made himself, he does what Rod Brind'amour has. He gives him 100%, gives him the work ethic that is requested of the Blue Liners. He does so much for this team. You can put him almost in any situation, he can do it. And I think, let's just say, if anything happens where you don't get Brett Pesce or Brady Shea back, he can easily slide into that top 4. That's how good he is in this system, is the fact that you could slide him into that second pair, no problem. He can slide him with ease, and it just works. And the fact that, 22 points last year, 8 goals, 14 assists, all career highs in goals, career high in assists, points, even strength goals, which was 8. Even strength points was 22. He had 66 block shots, and he also averaged 15 minutes and 12 seconds a game. Like, you'll take that. You'll take a career year, and that's why you see where he got his upgrade in his pay. For the fact you've got a career year in all offensive categories, block shots, time on ice. He's a great two-way player. He's got the speed. He can score. He can play great defense. And like I said, you can move him anywhere up and down that defensive lineup, and he'll play really well with pretty much everyone. So, and Eric Tulsky said it perfectly, and that's why it works out so good, for the fact that the Hurricanes locked him up. And on even the same 32 Thoughts podcast that was talking about it, Jeff Merrick mentioned that Colby Armstrong, when they were covering the Memorial Cup, it was 2017 when Windsor won it. Colby Armstrong said, that was a star-studded in the lineup, like Sergachev from the Tampa Bay Lightning was on that team and stuff like that. But Colby Armstrong said, this guy, Jalen Chatfield, he's going to be a bona fide NHLer, and Colby was right. Jalen Chatfield has made himself a bona fide everyday NHLer. Like I said, sat a few games last year, came in, locked it in, never gave up his spot. And the well-deserving of the pay raise. Good to see that he's going to be here for another, 3 seasons. Hopefully ride that full contract out. And he's got that security of where he doesn't have to worry about going anywhere. He's going to be in Carolina, he go get that house, go stay, and, be able to, just know that every day you wake up, you're a Carolina Hurricane, and you're not going to be going anywhere. So overall, getting him for $3 million for the next 3 seasons, got him the no moves to, keep him here instead of him going to free agency and getting like $4 million plus. You keep him here, for a reasonable price to make the flexibility for the rest of the team, and you give him the no trades to make sure that he doesn't have to worry about going anywhere and having to uproot his family. And the good thing too is, per Puckpedia, like, you look at his contract, his base pays are all around $1 million or less. A lot of his contract is all signing bonuses, which essentially means, let's say there's a lockout or anything happens, he's guaranteed that signing bonus money. So like his base pay and his salary is, signing bonus all match up to the $3 million, but just the way it's structured, most of his every year, most of his pay is going to be through that signing bonus. In case anything happens, that's at least guaranteed to him regardless. But overall, $9 million for the next 3 seasons. You can't beat a deal like that. So great job by Eric Tulsky. Great job by Jalen Chatfield and everyone to get that done. And it's good to see that we got Mr. number 5 on the ice for the next few years. We're going to have a lot of great trips to Chatmandu. Now, speaking of extensions, like I said, on the Friday show that was talking about Jalen Chatfield and how, Colby Armstrong said that, he's going to be a bona fide OHLer, NHLer while he was playing in the OHL. And the fact that Elliotte Friedman did bring up a very interesting point that when talking about extensions, he thinks that Jaccob Slavin's is possibly done, which we will have to get to here in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. A lot of life is unpredictable, but a good life insurance gives your family a financial safety net to protect against some of the unknowns. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It makes choosing the right policy for your family easy and quick. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million worth of coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid unnecessary medical exams. The one thing for me that I really enjoy about having life insurance is the fact that if anything happens to me or my family, I know I'm covered and everything will be taken care of. And with Policy Genius, it helps you easily compare your options from America's top insurers in just a few clicks. Their award-winning agents can even walk you through the process step by step. And the fact with their award-winning agents, they have no incentive to recommend one insurer over the other, so you can trust their guidance. They have thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found the best fit for their needs. Get peace of mind by finding the right life insurance with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. That's policygenius.com. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So, like I said, the end of segment 1, Elliotte Friedman on the same episode of 32's Thoughts when they were talking about Jalen Chatfield's extension with the Hurricanes. He even also mentioned the fact of that Jaccob Slavin, his extension might supposedly be already done, and now they're just waiting for the July 1st announcement because with the fact that he's still under contract as of right now with the Hurricanes, where he's making $5.3 million, going through the 24-25 season, and that's actually team no trade list. The fact that it's still active, they can't really make that announcement of the extension until July 1st, because July 1st is that period where you can announce extensions while a guy's already under a contract. So that's why it's supposedly done. They just can't formally say anything as of yet. But according to Freeman, it is done. And if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, you have to get it. You're talking about a cornerstone piece in Jaccob Slavin. He's 30 years old. He is a former 120th overall pick, got drafted in the 4th round back in the 2012 entry draft, just won the league being this past season for 23-24, 6 goals, 31 assists for 37 points. Did in 81 games, had 3 points in 11 games in the playoffs. Essentially, ever since coming into the league in 2015-16, he's basically been a mainstay for the Hurricanes. 34 points in 16-17, then 30, 31, 36, 15. His career year in terms of points was 42 back in the 21-22 season, where he actually had 38 assists, a career high as well. He was also a plus 35 then. He was a plus 21 this past year. And this was the second. He went back-to-back 8 penalty minutes in a season. That's his fifth season in the last. He's basically in the last 5 seasons, he's got 10 penalty minutes or less. And back in the 2020-21 season, he had 2 penalty minutes, and that was for a delay of game over the glass. And that's when he won his first Lady Byng. So now he's a 2-time league being winner, first guy since Red Kelly to do it. And, well deserving for him. And as I've said on the show before, he deserves some Norris trophies, but that's a different conversation for another time. But if the extension is done and they're just waiting for the announcement, then that's great. Then it's good that the fact you got your cornerstone franchise defenseman. I fully believe that you're going to see 74 in the rafters when it's all said and done, because if Glenn Wesley could be up there, Jaccob Slavin more than deserving to be getting his number retired for the fact that already multi-league being winner, someone who plays phenomenal defense. He is one of the best defensive defensemen in the NHL. He's elite at what he does. He basically holds almost every great player like Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. He holds those guys to almost barely scoring against them. That's how good he is. And the fact that you're talking 5 straight seasons where he's made 10 penalty minutes or less. One season he had 2, and that was just because of a delay of game penalty. He's had 8 penalty minutes the last 2 seasons each. Like, what more can you ask of a guy who plays really great? It's basically like death taxes and Jaccob Slavin doing Jaccob Slavin things. That's what we're kind of at right now with how good Jaccob Slavin is. And it goes to show that he is a guy you don't give up. He's 30 years old. You give him a 5-6 year deal right until he's in his mid-30s, and then, to make him a Carolina Hurricane for life or even longer. As long as he's a Carolina Hurricane for his entire career, then good, because he should be. And it goes to show that how good the scouting was to go get him in the 2012 draft. He came in during the dark ages of the Canes in 15 and 16. Seeing that transition from where it was kind of tough to play in Carolina to now where you see the last 6 seasons where you're seeing multiple playoff appearance every year, multiple deep runs, winning trophies, being like, one of those leaders in the locker room where it's like leads by example, not a rah-rah guy, but he lets the work ethic do it for him. And, sticks up for his teammates, just plays phenomenal defense. Like, he tied in shorthanded goals this year. You don't think of Jaccob Slavin as a guy who scores shorthanded goals, but he had 2 tying Seth Jarvis. Like, he's not going to be someone who's going to hit Cal McCarr point numbers or anything like that, but he's going to play. He'll get his points where it's going to happen. But he's that lockdown number 1 defensive 1D guy. You'll see him play on the penalty kill like crazy, and that's a player you don't give up on. And that was one of the questions. His contract goes through this upcoming season. He's not a UFA until after the 24-25 season. But if the Hurricanes, and Elliotte Friedman said it weeks ago, one of the Hurricanes' top 3 priorities this offseason was take care of Brind'amour. Did that. Seth Jarvis is next. Hopefully we hear something soon because he's going to be a restricted free agent. And the third one was Jaccob Slavin. And if that's done and we're just waiting for an announcement, then good. You got your guy. You don't got to worry about next offseason. You kind of know what your flexibility is next year because now you know his new contract, if it is done, kicks in next year. And then you just worry about everyone else. You don't have to go into next offseason worrying about, okay, we got to take care of Jaccob Slavin. Now you don't have to. And for me, anything under $9 million per season would be an absolute steal for Jaccob Slavin because this guy deserves at least $10.5 million on any other team because of how good he is. I could see him hitting at least $10 million per season. And what he does goes beyond points. And everyone's gonna be like, okay, well, if he's making $10 million, should be putting up more points? Nothing with what the caliber Jaccob Slavin is. Points doesn't have to be the sole factor of why you get a certain amount of dollars. The way he plays defense, the way he's always your best ability is to be available, and that's what he is. He's always available, even strength, penalty kill, all that stuff. And you know how good he is in his defensive zone, how good he is with his stick. Like I said, he's a multi-lady being winner. What more can you ask out of this guy? So, yeah, I could see him making 10.5 somewhere else. But if you keep him under at 9 or less, if you're the Hurricanes, automatic steal, great. It's great. It's fantastic. You cannot ask for anything better. So if that deal is done and it's $9 million or less, then Great job, Eric Tulsky and them. But even if you get Jaccob Slavin for 9.5 or 10, I wouldn't be upset with it because he deserves it. He deserves it. He's Jaccob Slavin. He's one of the best defensive defensemen in the league. Any team will drool to have this guy on their team. I don't care who you are. That's just how good Jaccob Slavin is. So, like I said, it's not official. There's just, from what Elliotte Friedman is saying, he believes that it's done. It's just got to wait for July 1st. So it's June 17th. Now it's just a waiting game until we hit July 1st, and hopefully we get that announcement of, all right, Jaccob Slavin's done. We got him for X number of years, 5, 6, or 7, and we got him for this amount of money. Then once we know for sure what it is, then we can celebrate knowing that Jaccob Slavin is going to be a Carolina Hurricane for life. So you love to see it. So there's one last topic we're going to get to here in a second, is a possible mock trade that actually I wrote about over at the Hockey Writers, which I will leave a link to that article in the description for the YouTube and also on the podcast side of things. You can go check that out. It involves Jonatan Berggren, involves the Detroit Red Wings, and a couple other assets. And a possible move. Who knows? Because we know there's a lot of news going around about Martin Necas. I know I've talked about it excessively, but we'll get into that more specifically here in a little bit on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Summertime means baseball and the NBA Finals and more, and you can bet it all on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from the final MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said at the end of segment 2, we're going to go a little bit of a mock trade that I kind of did over the weekend, where I actually got to talk to some of the Detroit Red Wings guys over at the Hockey Writers, and one of them specifically was Evan Sabourin, big Detroit Red Wings writer. Kind of reached out to those guys because Frank Saravalli, once again of the Daily Faceoff, he mentioned that there's a bunch of teams that could be very interested in Martin Necas, and one of them was the Detroit Red Wings, and that got me thinking because, the Detroit Red Wings got Alex DeBrincat, recently. They got Mo Seider, Lucas Raymond, David Perron. They also got Shane Gostisbehere last season. So I was thinking, what could a possible trade look like with the Detroit Red Wings that could involve, Martin Necas and all that? What could the Hurricanes potentially get back from Detroit if the Hurricanes do send Necas there? And talking to those guys, Evan did bring up that it could be, you could look at an NHL player that's ready now that could be a budding star, because the Hurricanes want a budding star that is like a star in, star out. And he also said probably, a prospect can go back to as well. And this was something that really surprised me, was the 15th overall pick in the upcoming 2024 NHL entry draft. And he said, too, in terms of the draft pick itself, that just depends on how the board's going and if the Hurricanes could potentially get their guy that they want at 15. Now, the trade could still happen where they could still probably get a draft pick out of it, too. It may or may not be the first. But let's just say the Hurricanes do go and want the first overall, the first round pick from the Red Wings at 15. So that's part of the deal. The other part of the deal is a defenseman in Anton. He played last season in the Swedish Hockey that, in Leksands IF, had 8 points in 46 games for them. In the regular season, he got 4 points in 7 games. And, he's not a really big goal scorer per se for the Red Wings, but he's someone who, he's been talking to Nicholas Cronwall a lot, who's a special advisor, Steve Eisner of the Red Wings. He is used by the Swedish national team in terms of all situations. The fact that, he has that potential to be the all-around defensive guy that could play a good two-way. His offense, he says his offense is kind of there. Like points-wise, he doesn't really give a lot of offense, but he's good on the transition, getting it, setting up and stuff like that. The only thing he's got to work on is his defense. So that could be something where you could look at where, he is currently unsigned by the Red Wings. He does have till June 1st of 2026, the former 105th overall pick in the 2022 draft. He is 20 years old. He is a right defenseman, but he is unsigned, but his deadline is June 1st of 2026. But I can potentially see him as someone of the Hurricanes could get in a possible trade where you're getting a defensive prospect where the Red Wings are more deep in that position. And just talking to the Red Wings guys at the hockey writers, they're like, okay, yeah, you're going to get an NHL ready guy now, but in terms of the whatever prospect, they have more options at defense, and they think that Anton Johansson could be that guy to where he could fit in a possible deal for Martin Necas. And I can really see that happening. And I can see them go getting him because, you can't never go wrong with too many defensive prospects. You just never know how it would work out in terms of that. So I can see them making that move. So you're basically you're getting his rights because he's unsigned. You got until June 1st to figure out what you want to do with him. So that is a possibility. Now, the big guy that I really think could be a big part of this trade, that you're talking rights for rights, and that is Jonatan Berggren. He is a former 33rd overall pick in the 2018 draft for the Red Wings. For me, Berggren is the main piece of this trade for Martin Necas. I talked to those guys. They think that Berggren's really, really good. He's an up-and-coming star. Because if he actually gets proper chances, he could be that guy. Steve Yzerman really likes him. Yzerman says he's going to be good for a while. He's liking where his game's at. The Red Wings guys think he's really, really good. It's just for a reason the trade's not giving him a chance. You look at the 23-24 season alone of just how he did, you'd be kind of surprised with the fact that, okay, this guy had 24 goals, 32 assists, 56 points in 53 games last year. Yeah, it was only a +1, but he helped Grand Rapids get into the Calder Cup playoffs. He was by far their best player. Led the team in goals, assists, points, all that while playing less games. He even had 5 goals and 10 points in 9 games in the playoffs and helped lead Grand Rapids to a Central Division final, which they haven't been to since 2017. So you're talking about a guy who he's an over point per game guy. He can score goals. He scored 21 for Grand Rapids back in the 21-22 season. It's one of those things where you're looking at a guy who can put up the points, he can score, he can do all those things. Yeah, he's 5'10", but if you look at how he is overall as a player, you're talking about a guy who he is stocky, energetic guy who can give you more layers to your offense. He does pass a lot more. He does pass more than anything else. He's viewed more as a playmaker, but when he has to shoot, he will shoot, because with Grand Rapids this past season, he had 3.1 shots per game, which led the team by a wide margin. He's a guy who's really good with the puck on his stick. He can thrive off possessions. And the fact of how he plays, he can bring in defenders, draw them to him, and then hit his teammates who are in like the soft spots of on the defense in the offensive zone, giving them time to finish. And that's something to where how Berggren is, for, like I said, for the fact that he had 24 goals, 32 assists or 56 points in 53 games, and he had 10 points in the playoffs. That is great to have. And that's where something like you look at just how he's been scouted by the Cap Friendly guys kind of looked at him. Dover Prospects has looked at him. They said that this guy is really, really good. If given the actual chance to do something and get meaningful minutes, this guy could play himself into a top 6 role on a team. And if I'm the Carolina Hurricanes, and you want that budding player, that budding star to be your replacement for Martin Necas, because we all know that they're looking for a star in, star out. And I think of where Berggren's at. He's really good, not getting properly used by the Red Wings. He is going to be an RFA. So you're basically trading rights for rights with Berggren and Necas, and you're also getting the rights of Anton Johansson. So you're basically doing a lot of rights trading. So you can kind of figure out what kind of contract you want to give. Berggren just got done with his ELC, his entry-level contract, where he's making $925,000. AFP projects him to make less than they projected him to make less than $900,000. If I'm the Hurricanes, I go trade for his rights, give him a 2-3 year prove-it deal. Because he's still young, he's 23. You give him a 2-3 year deal, Put it anywhere between $925,000 and $1 million. Boom, there you go for 3 years. You're talking at the most a 3x3. Or sorry, 3x1. So you're giving him $3 million. You're giving him $1 million for 3 seasons for $3 million total. You'll take that. You'll take that any way you can think about it, because then you're putting him on the right wing. He also can play left. I think he would fit really great with this team. You know, he gives you a guy who can fit in your top 6, could play on your special teams, and you can utilize this guy to where he's able to be a good playmaker on this team and help out the second line and be able to go either on the left or right side, depending on how you set up the roster. And he's young. You're going to get him on a really good deal because, like I said, he just got done with his ELC. And you can control him for another 2 or 3 years, give him anywhere between $925,000 and $1 million. And you can make that work. He's a proven goal scorer. He's a proven playmaker. It's crazy how the Red Wings are kind of like not really giving this guy a chance when he's proven time and time again how good he is. Even with the Red Wings, like, he had 6 points in 12 games. 2 of those were goals, 4 of them were assists. But you're still talking about a guy who played 12 games with the Red Wings this year, still scored a goal, and so he still got a point in like half of those games. So I don't know why you want to give him more of a chance. And I think if you're the Hurricanes, this is a great situation where you're putting him on a team that the Red Wings had a great start, still missed the playoffs, but you bring him to the Hurricanes, where you know they're a perennial playoff contender every year for the Stanley Cup. You bring him in, you put him in that locker room with Brind'amour and those guys, he could easily thrive in the top 6. And like I said, all you're doing is just trading Martin Necas, and then you're just getting, it's a lot of rights are getting moved. And you possibly pick up a 15th overall pick in the first round, or you can still pick up picks that could be a second, and then you could probably pick up 2 picks if you want to, if it's like a second and somewhere later on. But for me, I think Berggren is a good guy to go after. He's got a proven track record that he can be a good playmaker. He's got good offense. He's got a good shot. He knows how to slip into the defense on the offensive zone. He knows how to get into the soft spots. He knows how to help his teammates. He can draw guys in. He is someone that I think could fit really well with the Hurricanes. So if you're looking for a trade where you can make it work, you're looking for that next budding star, Berggren is that guy. You're also getting a defensive prospect because you can't have enough defensive prospects. And I think Anton Johansson would be a good one. And you're getting at least a first rounder. If not, at least you're going to get 2 high picks from the Red Wings. So let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree? Do you think that it could be a potentially good trade? We're getting Jonatan Berggren, Anton Johansson in the first overall pick, at least for Martin Necas. I know it's not, a lot of people were thinking like maybe UC Saros or stuff like that. I don't know if that's even going to work, but you're looking at a guy who's 23, can easily replace Martin Necas in your top 6. He's got a bright future, can play on the power play as well. He could thrive with the Hurricanes, I believe. And you're going to get some defensive prospect in their asset too. So like I said, in the comments, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think on social media too, because you can follow me at OneTrueZach on X. You can follow the podcast at LO_Hurricanes. Click the link tree in my bio. You can find out where to listen to my other podcast and also watch that as well for on YouTube. And for this podcast, you can find the link to where you can listen to this show. Go leave a 5-star rating. Go leave a review, because if you do, I might just read it on the podcast. If you're on the YouTube side of things, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumbs up button to let me know if you liked the episode as well. And make sure to share with all other Caniacs so they become everydayers just like you, because we are over 880 subscribers and we are on the road to 1,000. And if we get to 1,000, I might just do something special for you guys. But that will wrap up today's Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Hope everyone enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments, how do you feel about the Jalen Chatfield extension? How do you feel about him being a 3x3 where he's here for the next 3 seasons with the no move trade clauses? Also, do you think the Jaccob Slavin deal is done? Do you think we might hear someone on July 1st? And also let me know what you think of the potential mock trade for Martin Necas going to the Detroit Red Wings for Berggren, Johansson, and the first overall pick. But I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their Monday. Hope everyone enjoyed the show. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.